The problem is Murdoch has been very successful for the last 20 years because of his satellite coverage, and he's been able to market over the whole globe. But now the public are demanding services which satellites can't provide so easily. Rapid quantity of information, and broadband can do that. And Murdoch doesn't have that infrastructure to provide those type of services.
Well, I've been following it because from the time where I picked up the notion that he was really going to, in my words, create a new business model, and it was in what way can I get people to pay for news rather than just have it free through other third parties. So I've been following this, and at first it looked like almost a pipe dream. But I think he's actually increasingly now testing out different ways of doing it inside his organisation.
By desperation, by necessity. But the previous model of being able to sell content at this price and get advertising isn't increasingly there are free services.
No, that's right. Right, now we've tried.
Okay, Lee.
Get my biscuit out of the way.
Yeah, that's okay. You're looking after a few of the groups here.
Yeah.
Differences in their approach and anything that you've seen which is interesting?
Yeah, some of them are still sat down, so still quite contained in the way they're going about it. Others are far more animated, so they're literally all stood up all around the notice board, so people scribing and throwing out ideas. And one of the groups here is split up. So there's a group of 4, there's 2 at the table, and there's 2 others have disappeared. Now I can really guess they've got tasks to do, but that's quite dispersive, they're all on to different things. So yeah, completely different ways of...
can you see, when one of the teams has actually declared themselves they are a dream team, I mean, can you can
I haven't
see
noticed that yet. No. I don't know. At this stage, I think the proof of the pudding is going to be after 10 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Okay, thank you.
The thing that will differentiate the groups, I think, is the ones that will test out what they believe, and the ones who will just make the assumption.
Yes.
So the last group were well on the track, but I know that if they went onto the web, they'd find additional information that would check out some of the things that they're stating rather casually about the attitudes and ethics of business people.
It's the professionalism that they demonstrate. Does your presentation convince us that you're worthy of hiring? That you've understood the particular case, you've interpreted it in a useful and practical way which convinces us that you will be able to do a decent job for me as the client. That's the sort of crime. That's what we're telling them to do.
Well, that's after the briefing, and the briefing says that it's a 3-month project that effectively they're pitching for.
Yeah, that's what I'm using. They're pitching for a 3-month piece of work. I've allowed them to define the client within the written word.
As long as they know
who the client is, and then we understand that at the beginning.
That's right.
Because they're trying to define the words in a number of ways and looking for clarification.
This is interesting.
How do you mean the client, the words?
Well, he says client is a strategic HR director.
Yeah, and they want to know what is strategic and what is HR.
And is it a strategic HR director of the company or of another company?
Well, I think that is a fair point.
Well, it's of another company.
It's another company.
But here's Tesco's getting into this. What's the implications for me?
That's right, and this is often the case. One of the things that we do find is that companies want to find out information that they couldn't go and ask for themselves, and they figure out if someone comes along and says we come from Manchester Business School, they can get the information.
Right.
And that's one of the ethical issues that we have to deal with, because occasionally the MBAs lie just to get the information. We're working on behalf of Manchester Business School's research, but what they should say, we're working on behalf of a large company that's collecting information about this area. And then they should say...
That's a bit iffy.
And it gets tricky then. But that's well beyond what we want them to get into. But these are the realities that we bump up against.
The element in the transition to a more senior leadership position is that you understand implicitly that, for example, if you've got an organisational project, you will have an internal set of drivers or key performance indicators you have to meet. However, you will sometimes be working with external stakeholders as well, and it's balancing those two is difficult. And by and large, when you make the transition from a more operational role to a more strategic role, that's when that fasting comes into play, and it's not easy to do. You do have to learn the skills of performance then. And it's nothing not straightforward at all.